Hello guys, welcome. In today's video we are going to talk about map function. So map is a built-in function in Python that allow us to process and transform all the atoms in an iterable without using an explicit for loop. So if you don't know what is iterable and iterator is, don't worry, we are going to discuss in this video. So first we are going to discuss the basic syntax of map function, that how can we use map function in our programming, and then we will be considering the first practice program that we have to count the length of each atom present in a list using map and lambda function. And then we will be discussing about the filter function, that how to use filter function in our programming. Basically the filter function we use to filter out the specific pattern, just like even and odd numbers. So, and then we will be discussing that how to use filter function with lambda, and then we will be discussing what is the difference between iterator and iterable, and then we will be moving towards zip function in Python, that's why we use zip function and what is the basic syntax of the zip function when we are going to use in our programming. And then we will be considering the three practice program of for to understand the zip function completely. So the first practice program is that we have to get two tuples in a zipping list by using zip function. Basically in this practice program we are going to separate tuples from the zipping list. We will discuss it later, what is zipping list. And then we are going to consider the second practice program. In the second practice program we have to take three lists and print the average of first atom present in each list, and then we have to print the second average of the second atom present in each list, and then the third atom. We have to do this by using the zip function. In the third practice program we are going to take a unique roll number, and then we have to calculate the percentage for each roll number. Note that we can select 3 marks of the 3 subjects to calculate the percentage. Now these all the things we are going to cover in this video, so if you want to learn all these things, please stick to me at the end of this video. Now let's. So first we have the basic syntax of map function. So to understand it basic syntax, I am going to make a simple program. I am going to make a list called num, and this list contains 4 atoms using lambda function. So that's why I am creating a variable and store it to the lambda function, so that I must return the list. Then I am using map function, and inside the map function I am calling lambda. So a is our argument, and then we are just squaring. So by using the map function we don't have to call the explicit for loop. We have discussed it later. So if I don't use map function, then I have to call the for loop here. So the advantage of using the map function is that I don't have to call the for loop over and over again. So I can just directly put the name of my list num here. So map function will access all the atoms one by one and apply this operation on each atom and store it into a square variable, and then I can directly print square. So as you can see, if I run this program, you can see that this operation is being performed on each atom of the list. You can see that. Now let's move towards the first practice program of the map function to count the length of each atom present in a list using map and lambda function. So now to count the length of each atom, so first I need to create a list called names which contain strings. So first I can write my name and width and ID. So this list contains 3 strings name, and we have to count the length of each string by using the lambda and map function. So I am creating a variable called length, and I am using the map function. So I need to calculate the length. So I am using len keyword here, which will calculate the length, and the name of my list is names. In this case I have to use the for loop, so I can for I in length. So map will return the object. So the object will be stored in length. We will discuss what the object is, and we can directly apply for loop in an object, and then I can directly print I here. So if you can see, if I run this program, you can see that it has calculated the length of each string. So what if I comment this code, and if I directly just print length, length. If I run this program, you can see that it is returning the object. So this object basically, when we will discuss the iterator and iterable, then it will be cleared. So for the time being, just note that we can apply for loop in the object. So map will always return, map, filter and zip function will always return an object. All right, so I can uncomment this code. So I apply for loop in length object, and it is returning the length of the string. Now let's proceed further. So we are moving towards the filter function. So as we discussed earlier, filter function used to filter a specific pattern. Whatever pattern we want to filter in a sequence or a series, we can filter it out. So to consider its basic syntax, we are going to create a list from 1 to 10, and we filter out the even numbers from the list. Alright, now let's do this. So instead of creating a list from writing 1 to 10, I can directly generate list range function from 1 to 11. It will directly generate a list from 1 to 10 numbers for me, and I am using the normal functions here, and the name of the function is even and is the argument of the function. So I can directly return, so the remainder must be 0. Alright, now so if I am going to create a variable called evens, so that I have to use the, now we are going to learn how to use the filter function. So the filter function takes 2 arguments. Number 1 the operation, and number 2 in which the list the operation is being applied. Now I want this to return in a tuple data type, so I am writing here tuple, otherwise it will return an object. So I am using filter. So filter function will take 2 arguments. So the name of my function, which is defining the operation which is being performed here, so it is the name even. So operation is even, and the name of the list is num here. Alright, so I can directly print evens. Now as you can see, if I run this program, you can see that even numbers from 1 to 10 are being extracted by using the filter function. So let's recap what we have done in filter function. First, we make a list from 1 to 10 numbers by using the range function. We have discussed range function in previous videos. So if you don't know what is range function is, you can watch my previous videos. So, and then we have defined a function called even, and a is the argument of the function. We have just returned the function in the next line and define its operation. So as we discussed that the filter function takes 2 arguments. First the operation which is performed, and in the list which is being performed this operation, which is num, the list is num. So the second argument is the list name, and the first is the function in which the operation is defined. And then we can print the variable in the next line which is extracting the required pattern. by using the filter function. Now let's move forward. Now we have the filter function with lambda function. So as you can see, we haven't used filter function with lambda function. Now we are going to use it. So I am going to use the filter function in the same program. So let's suppose if I remove the function which is even, and I am going to use the lambda function. Now, so instead of giving its two arguments, I can directly write here lambda, the argument, and the argument which is being performed, that we have to extract the remainder must be equals to 0, which is the even numbers will be extracted, and then in which the operation is being performed, in a list num. Alright, so you will see that, you can see that lambda function, as we discussed earlier, by using the lambda function we can reduce the number of lines. So it is simple, we can just directly write the operation here, that this type of pattern we want to extract and from this list in a second argument. So it is, the output is same. Now let's move forward, that we have discussed how to use filter function with lambda function. Now what is the difference between iterator and iterable? So before proceeding further, first we need to understand what is for loop is. So if we discuss what the backend of the for loop is, that if I am going to create a list which contains 4 atoms. Now if I am going to apply for loop in num, we all know that it will going to print the all atoms present in a list. So what is the first we need to understand the backend of the for loop. So if I am going to remove this code, we already know that how for loop is working. Now what is the in backend, how it is accessing the each atom of the num list. We are going to understand the backend of the for loop basically. So first for loop will call the iter function in a list which is the we are performing for loop. The name of the list is here is num. Now the iter function will return an object. The object which is returning from the iter function will store in num iter, which is the variable, and then we are applying the next function in an object which is returned by iter. Now what the next function is doing, it will access the first atom of the list. So if I am going to run this program, you can see that it is returning the first atom of the list. So if I am going to print it twice here, you will see that it is returning the second atom, and then if I am going to again print it and again run this program, you can see that it is returning the third atom of the list. So if I am going to print it all the 5 times, so if I again run this program, you can see that all the atoms from the list is appeared, but it is saying that stop iteration. Because why it is generating the stop iteration? Because we have only 4 atoms in a list. So if I again run this program, you can see that it is returning all the 4 atoms from the list. So it is the backend of the for loop. First the for loop will call the iter function and return the object of the list, and then the object will further go in the next function, and the next function will access the first. So as long as the for loop is running, the next function will recall, and all the atoms from the num list will appear at the output. So that is how the for loop is working. Now what is the difference between iterator and iterable? So as we discussed earlier, that of filter map and zip, these functions are iterable because they return an object. So why they return an object? They don't call the iter function. And if you talk about iterators, that list, string and tuples, they are the iterator data types. They are the iterator data types because they first call the iter function and then they go to the next function to print the next atom of the list or any data type. Alright, so I hope the difference between iterator and iterable is clear. Now let's move towards the zip function. So zip function we use to zip two lists or two tuples or any data type. Now first, to understand its basic syntax, I am going to create two lists. So users is our first list which contains user1, user2 and then user3. Now this list contains 3 users and then we have the name list which contains the name of the users. So the second name and suppose the third name we have is here. Now these two lists contain three atoms, and then if I want to zip these two, suppose I want to zip these two lists so that the user and the name of the user will appear corresponding in a set. So I can directly zip these two lists by using the zip function. So I can print list. I want these two, as we discussed that the zip function is an iterable, so we have to convert it into list. So I can directly use zip function here. So inside the zip function, the two arguments which we want to zip, so users is our first list and name is our second list. So if I run this program, you can see that the user1 and its name is appear correspondingly, user2 and its name, user3 and its name. So as you can see that these two lists are zipped with each other. So that is the quality of zip function. We can zip the atoms, first atom with the list of another atom. Now let's move forward. So we have the first practice program to get two tuple in a zipping list by using the zip function. So it is a zipping list. Basically this list we can call the zipping list. So this zip, I can just copy this zipping list and I am storing this zipping list in a variable called L. Alright. Now if I want to extract back the users and name list back, so I can directly extract it. So I want that user1, user2 and user3 must appear in a list users and names must be separate from the users. Now what I can do, so I can extract them. So I am going to create back my list users and names. Alright, now I am going to create a list because I am using the zip function, and then I must have to use the static because it is not the normal list, it is the zipping list which contains two lists actually, and the L is the variable in which the zipping list is stored. So I can directly print users and I can print names. Alright, so if I am going to run this program, you can see that these lists can be extracted easily. Alright, now let's move further. So we have the second practice program to take a list and print the average of first atom of each element and then print the average of second atom and then the third atom. So we need to print the averages of all the atoms basically. So first we have three lists. Suppose 1, 2, 3 is the first list and 4, 5 and 6 is the second list and C 7, 8 and 9. Now we have taken these three lists as the program said, so we need to print the average of first, second and third atom of each list. Now I am going to create a variable and I'm just using lambda function to reduce the number of lines. So I am using the argument star args because we have more than one arguments in a function. We have a list, so I need to sum. So I am summing. Of course we need to apply for loop, and then we can print the average to. So how can we print average? First we sum the each element of the first we sum each list first atom, and then we can directly divide its length of I, and then we can directly apply for loop for I in zip star args. So zip function will zip all the lists which are in star args, which are these three lists basically, and then I can directly print D, and the arguments are A, B and C, which are the required list. Now if I am going to run this program, you can see that the average is appearing of the first atom and the second and the third atom. So they are in float data type. So we usually use float data type so that the point, if the answer is in points, so it should appear in the result. You can also calculate that 5, so that 12 divided by 3 is 4. You can also calculate the second and third average atoms of these three lists. It is correct. Now let's move forward. So we have the last practice program to take the different roll numbers and calculate the percentage. So we can take the three subjects to calculate the percentage. The roll numbers. So I am going to create a list called roles, and suppose we have 4 roll numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have the marks of maths. So for the 4 roll numbers we have of course different marks. Suppose 100, 90, 80 and 88. Alright, now in after math we have suppose science. So in science we have 90, 70, 60 and 40. Alright, and then we have the third, we have English, and in English we have suppose 100, 30, 70 and 60. Alright, these three we are going to calculate the percentage based upon these 3 marks. And now I am going to create a variable called percentage, and then I am going to calculate their percentages. So we need to sum I. So I am using list comprehension here to calculate their percentages. Now divided by 300, so that the total number are 300 of each subject. That's why it is divided by 300 and multiply with 100. So it is the basic formula to calculate the percentage. Alright, so I need to apply for I in zip math, science and English. So I can directly print so I want to print their percentages in a dictionary data type. So that's why I'm using dictionary keyword, and then I am again zipping their result, that their roll number must be appeared, and their, according to the roll number, their percentage must be appear correspondingly. The roll number and percentage will be appear correspondingly. That is why I'm using dictionary data type and again zip them. So if I am going to again run this program, you can see that the first roll number will have 96 percentage, the second will have the 63, the third is having the accurate 70%, and the fourth will have the 62%. So you can see that their percentage is appearing corresponding to their roll numbers. So I hope you have learned something new from this video. If you really like this video, please share this video with your family and friends. Thank you very much for watching.